Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I just thought of making a little discussion presentation with you on this video, based on some of the questions that we tend to be asked sometimes in operations of the flight, and sometimes in trainings that we normally go to, and they assess us on a couple of things to see how we are deciding on certain matters. So before I start, I'd like to say a big thanks to many of you who have been dropping comments on the channel. I'm very happy that at least the contents are assisting some of you or most of you in your flying and also in your trainings. And as we go along, as I said, that it's not that frequent that I'll be posting videos. I only post when I know that there is certain content that I want to discuss with you when it comes along my path, and then I actually share that when I learn something. As it is in this aviation world, sharing is the main thing, because you may save a life if you, or a couple of lives, if you know something that may be of use to somebody else as well in a certain critical moment. So always keep sharing information as long as you are flying and even beyond. So in today's presentation, what I wanted to actually discuss about is that sometimes when we're operating the aircraft, we always are taught discipline to respect limits. There are a couple of limits that we talk about. There are system limits as per the AOM and AFM, and also there is something called performance limits that is also listed in the AOMs and the AFM. I'm talking on behalf of the aircraft that I operate, the Q400-8. Amazing turboprop, no doubt. Very good machine, teaches you a lot of concepts, and amazing to fly as well. So when we look at the literature of this particular aircraft, I'm pretty sure that across the other aircrafts there might be similar or same things available. You need to know that there are these limitations. Today I'm going to talk of performance limitations, and how did that come about? Happened to be this way. At some point we lined up, and for example, we line up the aircraft for takeoff, and we get to be told that the wind is 15 knots tailwind. 15 knots tailwind. Okay, so now from your performance knowledge of the aircraft, you know that maximum tailwind component prescribed for this aircraft is 10 knots. So the question now becomes, should we go or should we go and wait? If you decide to go and wait and say that no, my limits say 10 knots, beyond 10 knots I'll not operate, well, fine, that is also justifiable, but we need to have more backup. Okay, we need to have more backup for you to decide certain things. You don't have to be too rigid. When we start as, let's say, captains, we tend to be too rigid because we want to be extra cautious, extra safe. It's fine. I mean, there's no harm in that. But sometimes the more you read and the more you try to understand your aircraft and what it entails and what the manufacturers have said about certain things, you can extend a bit your margins and cater and accommodate some other things before you make a decision. So how do we know whether we can go or we can't go? Depending on this example and certain other such scenarios that are prevalent. Okay, it's very easy. The aircraft manufacturers have produced something called supplements. Okay, a supplement is an extra to the already prescribed limits performance-wise of an aircraft. Okay, so there is a supplement for operations in tailwinds in excess of 10 knots. I don't have it with me here because I've just, as you can see, I've just woken up and I've got my white t-shirt on and I'm just sitting here, and I thought about this before I start my own studies. I thought about it, and let me just discuss with you. But those of you who have your devices next to you or hard copies, so if you go flying the next time and if you look at your aircraft library, you will see the AFM, and in the AFM there is something called supplements. With supplements comes another bunch of information which is called compatibility. Okay, so now let's discuss about this before you decide not to go, because you've been given a wind which is a bit more than your performance limitation of 10 knots. You go and find a supplement which allows you to operate the aircraft in winds, in this case, of more than 10 knots. It's there. You read the supplement. You will see that it will tell you that for you to operate this aircraft in this situation, which is not within the limits, you'll have to satisfy certain criteria. And that's where the compatibility comes. So in the same AFM, on the same supplement compatibility pages, there is a list of compatibilities linked to every supplement. For example, I'm just pulling numbers out in the head. Let's say you're referring to a supplement 10, whatever it is, if it's available. Okay, and then it says that, okay, for you to use supplement 10, your aircraft should be compatible with supplements 3, 5, 7, 21, blah blah blah. Okay, once you have satisfied yourself that, okay, yes, the supplements that are meant to accommodate the use of this particular supplement are being satisfied by the operations, then you are good to go. Okay, and for in our case of this example of operations of the aircraft in tailwind more than 10 knots, in the performance tables, we normally use the manuals most of the time, but there's also the electronic ones. There's something called to get the VREV speeds, the V speeds rather. There is a table right at the bottom. I have actually even made a video on how to interpret such performance tables. If you go and look at that, on those tables there is a place where tailwind next of 10 knots has been accommodated, which you can use to work out your V speeds. And mind you, when you get those speeds, you don't add any additive from the takeoff and landing card, the TOLD. All this has been explained in another video. There is a video I made some time back explaining how to get the weights and the speeds, the maximum V1 and the like, and how to apply the speed book, they call it. Okay, if you look at that video, you might know what I'm talking about as well. So the whole idea of this particular presentation is to tell you that when you want to decide on a performance limitation which is outside the normal envelope of the aircraft, and if you meet a scenario which says, for example, you can't do this, then you have to refer to supplement before you say no. One more which comes to my mind is using flaps 35 with autopilot. Normally you don't do that, performance limitation, but there's a supplement which allows you to do that only if certain criteria have been met. You can even look at that. So I know I've made a list of them on an Excel spreadsheet, and I go over them here and there all the time just so that it's in my mind. Okay, because sometimes you meet a particular situation which puts the aircraft outside the normal limitation envelope, and then you have to decide whether can you or can't you. The whole point of this discussion is can you or can't you, and to decide whether you can or you can't operate the aircraft in a certain situation given to you, always refer to the supplement if it's there. If it's not there, means you can't do anything about it. But if it's there, then you have to make sure that, yeah, it's possible that you can do this only if compatibility has been satisfied for that supplement. Supplement, compatibility. Read the supplement, go to the compatibility. It's all laid out in the AFM book that you should have. Okay, So that's basically this this is basically what I want to talk to you about in this little presentation. Another advice to give you, the QRH. Please, whether you fly the Q400 or A380, okay, or even a general aviation aircraft, the QRH emergency procedures must be read every single morning when you wake up. Okay, there are memory items in there which you definitely have to know, but the more you read the QRH, your mind will just be recording everything, and over time the whole QRH will be coming in your mind. There's no harm in that. It's better to know more than just know the memory items. It really helps you for your trainings, for your simulators, and even, God forbid, when you meet certain emergencies or urgencies you have to deal with, because you already know, you've got a list laid out in your mind just from reading the QRH every single day. You know, you just have to know. For me, in the case, I've read it ever since, you know, I've appreciated the QRH. It starts with chapter 4, air conditioning. Chapter 5, about engines. You see, chapter 6 is auto flight. Chapter 7 is forced landings. Chapter 8 is something to do with ditching. 9 is electrical. Okay. 10, I believe, is flight controls, fuel, hydraulics, you know, and so on and so forth. Sometimes you just, if I've muddled somewhere, it's okay, but I mean, I'm just saying that this is so important, you know. Read the QRH every day, every single morning when you wake up. Go through the QRH. Even if you do one system today, one system tomorrow, but just keep reading. The QRH is a continuous reading material. Whether you know it, you know, word for word, page by page, not a problem. It will be saving you somewhere down the line if you need it. And it will also broaden your mind. So always remember, you read the systems, you read the AFM, you read the QRH. Okay? Very, very important. This is the best advice I'll ever give you from experience. Okay, QRH shouldn't just be behind your seat and you take it out the moment you have a caution or a warning. No, that's not preparation. Okay, it has to be here. As awkward as it sounds, but it has to be here, and it can only be here every single day of reading. All right, you'll be very surprised with yourself if you do that. Don't just read the normal systems all the time. They come with the QRH, okay? And then you expand your reading by the AFM and the others, the MELs. You know, I'm not saying that you've got to like dive so deep into it or dig, no, but just browse through the pages. You have an idea of MEL, for example, okay? You have a problem with a configuration, okay? Do you just say no, that no, I can't go? That's not a good decision. Have you consulted the MEL? Have you considered the CDL? Have you looked at the ADD, acceptable deferred defects? So sometimes why I'm saying this, as you become new captains, you tend to be overcautious and you tend to say no to certain things which could have been done and are also written down. So you cannot be crucified or penalized just because you did something which is outside the normal envelope. No, because something was accommodated for it. Yes, you always tend to remain in the normal envelope of safety, of limitations. But sometimes there are certain operations that can be done outside the envelope only if certain criteria are met. Because you may have to answer lots of things to your bosses. Okay, and that's not good. So please, it's normal, I know, that when you just enter on the left seat, you will tend to say no to things that, oh, no, I can't, no, I can't, no, I can't. Wait a minute. Relax. Consult the books. They will tell you if it's there. Yeah, if you don't have your fin, it's obvious you won't fly. There's no MEL item for that. Okay? So, certain things, obviously, you can't. Okay? But there are certain things that you can. So, go through the supplements, the MEL, compatibility, familiarize yourself with all that, QRH is so important. I'm telling you. All right. You would appreciate me if you take this advice every single day. Okay. So having said that, I'm getting a call from my wife. Let me answer this one. In that way. Have a good one till the next time. Bye bye.